I've been picking up dead animals to the point where I can't even do it anymore. The air yesterday was so bad, the alarm was going off.
These are one of the many incidents documented near frack sites. The animals' symptoms correspond with known effects from chemicals used in fracking.
This kitten seems to have some serious nerve damage going on here.
Infertility, cancer and birth defects. New studies have added to the list of the health effects of fracking. Toxicologists examined just a third of the 900 chemicals they pump in the water, ground and air. 4 in 10 chemicals were found to hit kidney and immune systems. A majority affected the nervous system and blood, and 2 in 3 of the chemicals damaged the skin, eyes and other sensory organs. Wells are now even being drilled, reports CNN, inside schools. 2 gas wells in Leroy High School, New York, spilled, killing the trees and vegetation where students play right there every day. By March, reports the New York Times, 18 children at the school had come down with Tourette's syndrome, a neurological disease with symptoms similar to the kittens found at frack sites. The National Atmospheric Agency found small towns with frack sites like Erie, Colorado now have air pollution 9 times higher than America's dirtiest cities that don't yet have drilling. Richard Cheney used to run oil giant Halliburton. As vice president, he pushed through Congress breathtaking legislation called the Halliburton loophole. Frackers are now exempt from the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Safe Drinking Water Act, Resource Conservation Act, Environmental Policy Act, Environmental Liability Act, the Community Right to Know Act, and most other federal laws on environmental health. The Marcellus Shale sits under the largest unfiltered water supply in the world. It provides tap water to millions on the East Coast. Authorities admit fracking's already affected the Allegheny River running through New York and Pennsylvania that supplies cities with their drinking water. Let's talk to a representative from the fracking industry, Dana Bone of lobby group Energy in Depth. Great to speak to you. Will the industry still insist there's absolutely no evidence of environmental damage?
The process has been used over 1.2 million times across the United States with 0 evidence of water contamination.
In fact, systematic and massive water, land and air contamination by fracking is admitted even in the industry's own documents. In a potentially criminal suppression of massive health risks to the public, leaked reports by the world's biggest frack firm, Schlumberger, admit half the casings on frack wells fail, sending chemicals straight into the atmosphere. In fact, there's thousands and thousands of documented cases of fracking turning drinking water black, families with sudden symptoms of exposure to industrial chemicals.
The hydrogen chloric acid is what they use before they frack, but that was the #1 thing in my lungs.
Rivers at frack sites floating with dead animals, on and on. Snake Oil notes extraordinary lengths the industry goes to mask all this from the public. The author of Snake Oil is Richard Heimberg. Great to speak to you. How big's this cover-up?
Field scientists working for the EPA had found a strong correlation between fracking and problems with water quality, but higher up EPA officials in Washington had prevented the dissemination of these findings.
Parents were shocked to discover oil giants now work with Disney to brainwash the next generation. Oil and gas lobbies have paid Disney DJs and schools to take elementary class children out of class and make fracking infrastructure models, while pop music blares in the background and Disney employees cheer them on. An industry spokesman admitted they target 7-year-olds because they take in information and don't ask annoying questions about health threats like those meddling adults.
Kids are the best way to spread the message about the oil and gas industry. They retain the information. They remember it.
Meet Talisman Terry, your friendly Frackosaurus, a 24-page colouring book from the industry, which claims the environment is even better after it's been fracked. Comedy Central host Stephen Colbert adds a sick Terry setting fire to himself from his fracked water supply would be more realistic. It's all part of industry moves, notes author Daisy Luther, to make sure the next generation will never ask questions about deadly toxins in their adult life.
I mean, why would you want to give up crop dusting? Blue skies, no air traffic.
A crop duster spraying poisonous chemicals on food is the hero of Disney's new blockbuster for children. In a supreme irony, the day the film was released, Activist Post reports 79 teens were rushed to ER after the Monsanto field they were working in was sprayed with toxic pesticides by a crop duster.
DemocracyNow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
We end the show by looking at a major new report titled Fracking, the Eagle Ford Shale, Big Oil, and Bad Air on the Texas Prairie. It's the result of an 8-month investigation by Inside Climate News, the Center for Public Integrity, and the Weather Channel. Now, a new investigation shedding light on
really all of this.
On all of this, and we're going to have a guest talk about it now.
That's right. We're joined in San Diego by David Hasemeyer, and in Boston, Lisa Song. Lisa Song was also part of the team that won the Pulitzer Prize for National Reporting for the Inside Climate News series, the Dilbit disaster, the biggest oil spill you've never heard of. We turn right now to Lisa Song. Can you talk about what you found in this major new report you did on fracking the Eagle Ford Shale?
Sure. This report that we did was done in collaboration with the Center for Public Integrity and the Weather Channel. And we decided to focus on air quality and air pollution issues from natural gas development instead of water, because the issues with water have been looked at before. And what we found in the Eagle Ford is that the Eagle Ford is a huge 20,000 square mile area in South Texas. And there is right now one of the biggest oil and gas booms in the nation, but it hasn't gotten the national attention that places like the Marcellus Shale in Pennsylvania have. And what you have there in South Texas is this boom, and looking through air permits and looking at the regulatory regime, we found that there are all of these facilities, that the wells and compressor stations and all the infrastructure that comes with the boom that are emitting industrial-sized air pollutants into the air. And you're talking about things like hydrogen sulfide, which can be deadly, volatile organic compounds like benzene that can cause cancer in the long term. And you have that alongside many, many hundreds of residential complaints about things that are related to the industry. So you have residents complaining to regulators about headaches and foul odors and trouble breathing and all kinds of respiratory problems. And at the same time, you have a regulatory system that knows very little about the air quality in the area because they have only 5 permanent air monitors in the entire Eagle Ford. And none of these monitors are in places with a lot of drilling. Also, you have regulatory agencies that are very business friendly and very closely intertwined with the oil and gas industry. And that's something that David can talk about because he looked into the politics.
Yeah, and David, what about that in the state of Texas and its basically laissez-faire attitude toward this kind of pollution?
We went to Texas on a number of occasions with our colleagues from the Center for Public Integrity and the Weather Channel. And we spent a lot of time in the homes of people, walking the farms and the ranches of people who are affected by the emissions. These are folks who are long-time residents of this area, and it's a very rural, very quiet area of the state of Texas. These are people who had expectations of being able to live quiet lives in retirement and to farm and ranch without the threat of development near them. In the last 5 years, the Eagle Ford has boomed. These folks who once lived in a rural area are now finding themselves with dozens of wells and processing plants surrounding them. They have very few places to turn for help. They have two regulatory agencies in Texas. The primary agency is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. And this is an agency that has commissioners appointed by the governor of Texas, Rick Perry, who has made it publicly known that he'd like to dismantle the EPA. His attorney general has sued the EPA more than a dozen times. So the folks in Texas feel that they are somewhat disenfranchised in that they have very few people who are on their side who can champion their cause. These are truly the little people trying to fight government and trying to fight big business.
I mean, the kind of gassing off, the flaring off of the gas. You see, I saw this in Nigeria, in the Niger Delta. At the time, it wasn't even allowed in the United States. And the people, and watching your video, complaining of feeling like an elephant is on their chest as they breathe in the soot from this flame. This is an area the size of Massachusetts, Lisa?
Yes, it's very nearly the size of Massachusetts.
And so what happens now? What happens next? Even if you will not allow fracking on your own property, everyone around you has this, is allowing it. And so you're still deeply affected.
Yeah, what we found was a clear story of people who have, there are some people who have benefited financially from this boom, and there are many others who have not. So it's clearly a case of the haves and the have-nots. And for the people who either can't or won't lease their land to the industry, they are often surrounded by neighbors who have done so. And so to them, they see no benefit at all, and all they have are the odors and the flares and the lights and noise, pollution, traffic, and all they end up seeing are the disadvantages of this boom. And so their lives have not gotten better, it's gotten worse.
We're going to have to leave it there, but we will certainly link to your report. Lisa Song and David Hasemeyer, reporters with Inside Climate News, who worked on fracking the Eagle Ford Shale, big oil, and bad air on the Texas prairie. An 8-month investigation done in collaboration with the Center for Public Integrity and the Weather Channel.
What the frack is Mickey Mouse up to in Ohio? See, last month, Radio Disney employees traveled to 26 schools and science centers across the state, promoting a program called Rockin' in Ohio. Sounds innocent enough, right? Well, it turns out this initiative was entirely funded by none other than the Ohio Oil and Gas Energy Education Program, which in turn gets its money from, you guessed it, oil and gas companies. During the demonstration, the kids were shown interactive presentations about gas pipelines and encouraged to spread the message about the industry. Now, I'm just guessing here, but I doubt these kids were also taught that infertility and cancer-causing chemicals have been found in fracking water supplies, and that the practice is responsible for artificial earthquakes in Youngstown, Ohio. Unsurprisingly, the fracking indoctrination of Ohio's youth isn't sitting too well with environmental activists. In fact, one online petition urging Disney's CEO to shut down this program has already gathered over 80,000 signatures. So if you think the Magic Kingdom and oil belong together as well as water and oil, then let's break the set.